What's up, YouTube? This is going to be our guide on how to use Zapdos in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'll be providing competitive movesets and some fun meme movesets too. If there's a Pokemon you'd like to see me cover, put it below in the comment section. If you enjoy these, if they help you out, drop a like, and let's get into it. So our first set here is going to be looking at Zapdos as more as a tank with Tailwind. So Zapdos's all-round stats are pretty good. They're pretty well-rounded. It's got good bulk. It has a nice special attack stat, 125 base, and a good speed stat of 100 base too. It has the electric and flying typing, and the abilities are static and pressure. Most of the time, you're going to see static used over pressure, in my opinion. This is better. You got a 30% chance to get a paralyze on a contacting move, so that's quite useful. Whereas pressure, I mean, it might be good for, like, let's say low PP moves and such like that, but outside of that, static I feel is going to be better in most kind of formats and situations. So first we're going to have a look at more of a tank style set for Zapdos, which it can be in a lot of different rule sets and formats and stuff too. So this one, I've sort of done the EVs this for like a single set, so it's geared towards more that kind of build, and my item too. So we'll start with that. So our first set, we got Volt Switch. Volt Switch is an excellent electric type move. Great for scouting and momentum on any team. We've got Tailwind on there. Tailwind is excellent, especially in doubles. Going to double your speed of your allies and yourself. And Roost it gets too, so a great recovery move. And we also got Hurricane too. So Hurricane is just going to be like a bit of like a powerful flying offensive move too. And with this build, I've got this as very defensive. So we've got 248 in health, just optimizing it there for entry hazards, or if my item gets removed. And we've got 252 in defense. Makes a nice defensive wall for sure. It's got some good bulk, as I mentioned before. We've got Bold Nature too, so it can tank a lot of those powerful physical moves. It's good at swapping into like fighting type moves and such like that too. It's very, very good for that. Heavy duty boots as the item, because say if you're running formats with like Stealth Rock in them for singles, it's going to wear it down very, very fast. So you definitely want to have that item on there, or it's for flying type Poke. It's not bad. It's not as bad as like Charizard or Ho-Oh or something like that, but still it gets worn down very quickly, so that item's quite good on it. Now, as for if you're going to run like more of a defensive build like this one, as you can see, I'm not running anything in special attack. It's better to run more of a defensive Terra. So some of the Terras you could run, I quite like Steel on there. Now, the reason I say Steel, for any rock type moves, ice type moves, those sort of things, it's going to be great for that. So it's good for just going Terra Steel. Also, if there are any other issue hazards on the field and such like that, at least then it's not going to be as bad. Another good one is Fairy. Well, I mean, Fairy is a very good defensive and offensive type as well, so you could go Fairy. Yeah, those would be probably my two best ones, I would say, for, say, a defensive Zapdos. You could go Terra Electric as well if you want a little bit more power from Volt Switch, or you could go Terra Flying if you wanted more from Hurricane, but I feel like those ones are better for like more offensive builds than defensive builds, right? You could do something like Ghost for, say, if you want to stop any like entry hazards and stuff like that. It could be good for that sort of thing, but I feel like Steel or Fairy is probably the best there for this sort of build. I like Steel the best though. That's a nice defensive typing for sure. So that would be my first build there for singles. Some other options you could run on there, now that I'm thinking about it, you don't have to run Volt Switch on the, I mean, it's probably preferred, but you can run, it does get U-turn as well. So if you don't like the fact of being stopped by, say, your momentum stopped by like a ground type Pokemon or a Volt Absorb Pokemon, you could use, or Lightning Roll, stuff like that, you could use U-turn as well. If you just want it there purely for Tailwind and Roost or those sort of things, that could be useful. Another good move that it gets as well, speaking of status moves, if you don't want to do Tailwind in singles, it's not quite as good in singles because of doubles. Like doubles, you get more use out of it because there's another Pokemon on the field, right? So it's more immediate, I guess you could say. So If you don't want to use Tailwind, I'll give you some other options there as well. So Thunder Wave is a good one. It might be a little bit redundant with static, but at least you can paralyze. At least you know you're going to get a paralyze on the Pokemon. So you've got Thunder Wave. Another good attacking move is Discharge as well. That's also good in doubles, but we'll get to doubles in a sec. So Discharge, that's good too. You can spread paralysis that way. For example, if you're not, if the opponent's not hitting you with any contacting moves, that's a good way of spreading paralysis and such like that too. So that'd probably be my recommendations there at some other moves if you don't want to run Tailwind and such like that. Let's have a look now at a more offensive Zapdos build. Okay, so our next set here is going to be a Choice Scarf or Choice Spec set. I think this works pretty well. This can work well in doubles too, but it's kind of hyper offensive, so you don't have any of those other statusy moves, and I think that Tailwind is quite good for Zapdos, so this is just like a very, very hyper offensive set, which could possibly be well outclassed by something, say, like Miraidon, right? Miraidon's probably going to be able to do this better, but I still want to, put this out there if you're not, if you've got like certain rule sets and stuff that you play by. So this we've got, as you can see, we've got a Choice Scarf, we've got Terra-type Grass. I quite like Terra-type Grass. It's not a bad offensive kind of option for Zapdos. It can hit those like annoying counters pretty well. Also, it can hit any of those annoying Pokemon that say, like for example, like Quagsire, that's really does counter Zapdos well, so it's good for those sort of Pokemon and rock types and ground types and such too that normally can come into Zapdos and cause it some issues. There are a few Terras you can use, I'll say them in a sec. So we got Volt Switch T-Bot, Volt Switch works excellent on any Choice or Choice Specs, Choice Scarf set. Thunderbolt is a nice, powerful stab. Electric type move, that's great. Hurricane, and then we got Terra Blast on there as well. So that's not bad. You could go. I'm trying to think of anything else that would be good for a singles build. I like Grass. Having Grass coverage on an electric Pokemon, and especially it's flying as well, is quite handy. So I'll stay with Grass there. You could do it. You could definitely do Electric as well, but then if you do Electric, you sort of have to. You got to like put in a different move than the Terra Blast. You wouldn't just keep it at Terra Blast. So maybe something like, you could put U-Turn on there. This might sound a bit silly, but you could put U-Turn on there as well. Say if you just want some momentum and you're facing like a ground type, and you have a feeling they're going to lead with that or whatever, you could have U-Turn on there as well. That could be somewhat useful if you don't want to have Terra Blast on there. With my EV spread, max special attack and max speed and modest nature for Scarf, and then say for specs you could, if you had Choice Specs, you could have it as. Maybe you want Timid then for a little bit more speed. Or if you want even more powerful, you could just have Modest and Spec. So it's sort of up to what you feel like is a good speed stat for it. Or what you need on your team and such like that. So that's sort of my singles builds there for Zapdos. If you've got anything to add, please do. Let's have a look at some doubles now. All right, I've got a couple of Zapdos sets here for doubles or VGC style, so let's have a look. I know the latest regulation is out now, and you can use two legendaries, so that's kind of why I've been covering these as well. I'm trying to get all of them covered. So our first one here is kind of a complicated EV spread, and I've got a couple of the other ones too, so let's have a look at it. So we've got Terra-type Electric on this, and we've got Tailwind. So Tailwind is going to be a good move on most Zapdos, in my opinion. So this one's got all-round bulk, but it's got some offense to it as well. And I've optimized the EVs where we're making like the most out of absolutely everything. So that's why it's kind of so complicated. So we've got safety goggles on here. So I've got safety goggles in there because obviously we're going to make it immune to any of those like power moves like Rage, Among Us and stuff like that, which can be a pain redirecting your moves, so that could be a good item for Zapdos. Another good one is Covert Cloak as well. I'll just say that's another good one for it. So we've got Static Ability, Tailwind, Hurricane, Volt Switch, and Thunderbolt. This is going to be quite good. So we got Volt Switch, a Pokemon that, like, you know, it's great for Pokemon that have Intimidate that you can work with. So you can Volt Switch and then swap them in with Intimidate or Parting Shot or stuff like that. Works great. Thunderbolt and Hurricane. So this can Zapdos works well on rain teams as well, for sure. I've got some real offensive Zapdos sets coming up, but this can definitely work on a rain team very, very well, because that makes a Hurricane 100% accurate as well, which is nice. You can even opt to swap Thunderbolt up to Thunder if you need to as well. So let's have a look at this EV. So this is definitely a bulky support set. So we've got 112 on health, and we've got 76 and in defense, and we've got 40 in special defense. So I've sort of brought them up together. So defense and special defense is virtually even. Modest nature. So I've dumped some into special attack. I haven't dumped the whole lot. The reason I haven't done that is because I need 124 speed EVs into there. So at least after a Tailwind, I can outspeed some of those really, really fast Pokemon. So that's what it's on there for. So instead of me just doing, let's say I didn't do that, like, there are Pokemon that can outspeed after their Choice Scarf as well. So I'm trying to get around them at the same time as well. So trying to think of some more, you know, hyper-specific EVs and such like that. So we've got good all-round bulk, split defenses, I guess you could say, 112 in health, some good bulk there, but it's going to be hitting hard too. It's got a high 125 base in special attack, so it's going to be hitting nice and hard still. So even with no investment, Zapdos does hit pretty hard, to be honest. So that's going to be my first build. Some other options for items, I would like to mention a few. So Covert Cloak is pretty good there, just stopping any flinching and stuff like that. So if you want to set your Tailwind up, you can go ahead and do that. Rocky Helmet would be pretty good here. That would be a nice item for sure. So you can sort of punish any of those contacting moves, and you've got it works well with static as well, because it can paralyze. You could have something like Magnet maybe if you want to power up your electric type moves a little bit more, something like that. Citrus Berry would be a good one too. If you notice, I'm not running Roost on this set, so Citrus Berry could be useful. This is more of a Tailwind but offensive build, so I sort of lack Roost on this build. But you can slot Roost on there if you want to. You can get rid of, say, you might want to get rid of Thunderbolt and just have Volt Switch and Hurricane. You could do that at the same time. So that's my first doubles build here. I'm going to recommend some teams and partners and stuff like that as the video goes on too. All right, our next set here is going to be a pure offensive Zapdos in the rain. And this is definitely meant for partners, say, like Pelipper and Kyogre. That's what we're sort of looking at here. It's going to perform the best. So it actually gets Weather Wall, which is really cool. So with Terra-type Water, which is a good Terra on Zapdos as well, you can take advantage of your partner, like your Pelipper and your Kyogre. So we got a Weather Ball at 100 base power Water, which is going to be great. Thunder's going to be 100% accurate in the rain, and Hurricane. So all those moves are so beneficial to the rain. And then you can pop on Tailwind too. This is probably my favorite set because you do really make use of the rain, like really, really well. It's an excellent sort of Pokemon in the rain. I put Covert Cloak on there so I could get my Tailwind and such up. Now, the EVs I've got here, I've done 204 in health. A little bit more bulk there. And I've got Modest Nature, so maxing its special attack as, potential as much as possible. And I put 52 EVs into speed. So we'll just have enough EVs to outspeed some really, really quick Pokemon there as well. If you feel like you need more EVs in health, like say, oh, I'm going to get outsped by this X Choice Scarf Pokemon, then sure, you could drop the health EVs and put in, even more into there. I just like some extra bulk on this Zapdos set. I feel like it's nice. Once you got Tailwind up, you're outspeeding most stuff anyway, right? So that just works excellent. I've tried that before. Very, very nice. So powerful Water Stab for any of your counters. Thunder's going to be 100% accurate in the rain, as is Hurricane. So that's excellent. So that's just a hyper-offensive build, but it's got good bulk to it too. There's never really a reason to run max health on Zapdos if you're doing Tailwind and stuff. It's like, just for example, if you're not running Tailwind, then, say, for example, these sort of sets without Tailwind are fine. Back these are singles ones, but you can run these in doubles too. I'm not saying you can't, but I think you'll have more success with like Tailwind and Bulk in doubles from what I've seen in my experience. Yeah, that's the next Zapdos set. I like Terra Water on that. You could do Terra Electric or Terra Flying if you really, really wanted to as well. But then you just have to sort of watch out for your Weather Ball then too, if you'll have like less power. You could even go, You could even go Stellar on this as well. I know that's a bit funny, but you could have a Stellar Thunder, Hurricane, and Weather Ball. So that could be kind of interesting. The only thing is you sort of keep your typing though, so. But that could work. Like Stellar does work pretty nicely with a lot of coverage. You could even have Expert Belt on there too. You've got quite a lot of, like, Expert Belt and Stellar work well for coverage moves. So you've got quite a few of them. So I've got one more doubles build here. I don't normally do this, but Zapdos is kind of a limited Pokemon. So let's check that out. Okay, so this Zapdos here is going to be focused around more of a... I don't normally do as many hyper-specific builds as this, but I know some of you don't mind this, so I'll go into a little bit more. This one's kind of based around being bulky and just doing damage with multi-hitting moves, spreading paralysis, setting up Tailwind, such like that. So we've got Terra-type Water as more of a defensive one against Ice-type moves, and then Rock-type moves and neutral and stuff. We've got Discharge, that's going to be excellent. And if you couple this with, say, a Ground-type Pokemon, that's going to be useful as well. That way, you don't have to worry about those sort of things, like hitting you. You could even do it with maybe Motor Drive as well, or maybe Volt Absorb, some other combinations. So we've got Discharge, Tailwind, Hurricane, and Heat Wave. So Heat Wave is another move that Zapdos gets, which is quite good. So I don't know whether you'd use it on a Sun team, but you could with Heat Wave. You could even try Terra-type Fire as well if you wanted to, so like more of an offensive set. So just a different way to run it. So you've got damage with Hurricane, Heat Waves hitting both, and you've got Discharge for spreading paralysis. Citrus Berry for healing. We've got 252 in health. We've got 140 in defense. A little bit less in special defense here because I want to run a little bit more in speed. And then we got bold nature as well. So I did go bold. I like defensive Zapdos. It's pretty good. If you didn't want to run bold on there, you might want to sort of optimize it for like a more of a, an even kind of spread. You could go back to calm, and that would even them up a little bit. But it just depends. If you want more of a defensive wall, go bold, or calm, something like that. And speed gives you a little bit of speed EVs too. So you're able to let's say Tailwind's not up, well, you're able to outspeed some Pokemon in that, like those lower tier ranges, just with that amount of EVs as well. So that just gives you a bit of EVs, just in case Tailwind is not up and such like that. I'm going to do some teammates and some other thoughts and stuff. We'll have a look at a Pip Night special set. I like to include that, and we'll do that. Okay, so most people are going to use Zapdos as a special attacker, which is fair. However, I'm going to be doing a physical one, so let's check that out. It's a little bit limited on the physical side for sure, but it can work. So we've got Brave Bird here, 120 base, which is nice. Supercell Slam, 100 base power. And then we've got Terra Blast Fighting. And then we've got Roost as well. It's got that Sharp Beak as the item, so boosting them flying type moves by 1.25. You could actually run Sharp Beak on the more meta sets too if you want to boost up Hurricane's power. That's another option. Maybe you're tight for items and such like that, so you don't want to double up. That could be a good option there. This is going to be a 252 build, so we got 252 in attack and 252 in speed, Adam and nature, and we're hitting as hard as possible, so with the physical set. I did actually try this out with the Choice Band set. It wasn't actually too bad. What I did is I did all of these moves except for Roost. I put U-turn instead, and I changed out the Sharp Beak, and I gave that Choice Band. So you could I was kind of like trying to disguise it as a normal Zapdos. Sometimes they have U-turn and Volt Switch as well. So I was trying to kind of disguise that and then unload the big Brave Bird. But that's another thing you could do as well. Instead of fighting, you could do Terra Electric or flying. I don't know how good Bug would be, but it's another another option there you could actually go for as well. So there you go. Physical Zapdos, Pip Night Special. I gave that one pressure as well, because when you use it, the pressure will surely be on. Let's check out some team builds and stuff like that. So some good Pokemon. I already mentioned this before, but I'll just go over it again. So we got Kyogre with Drizzle. That's an excellent partner, especially with these even the defensive sets is good, because you can have 100% Hurricane, and you could have Thunderbolt on there too. So those any weather teams like Pelipper and Kyogre is going to be good. A good one here as well. When you're running Tailwind, people do like to try and use priority moves as well. So any Pokemon, like let's say Pharaoh could work well with Armortail, stopping any priority moves. So that could be a good, Pokemon for you to run on this team too. And that would, that would be like a nice partner for it. Get around some of its weaknesses. Another good one you could run on there. I'm just trying to think of some other options. I might have Amoonguss on there as well. I mean, a lot of teams are good with Amoonguss. So Amoonguss will be good for redirectional moves, and for any of those rock Pokemon, that could be nice partner there as well. Some other good ones you could, if you want, you've got like a strong special attacker could be. There's quite a few you could use here, but I'm just going to use Flutter Mane because it's such an easy example to use. This would be good, and Tailwind's going to be good for Flutter Mane too, because it's going to outspeed all opposing Flutter Mane, and even like choice Scarf Pokemon, like speedy choice Scarf Pokemon is going to be very, very good too. Now you could have Qianpao too. Qianpao would be good at getting around a lot of Zapdos's weaknesses. That would be excellent. A good physical attacker too. And maybe, we've got the Zapdos can swap into those fighting moves. Since it's got a quad fighting weakness, Zapdos is good for swapping into that as well. So I kind of think that's good. And, you might even be able to get, say, a static off on there as well. But there's a lot of rain Pokemon that could work well with these Pokemon. Like Archaludon would be another good one if you're running... if you're going like the full rain team, Archaludon's going to be a good one. I've done an Archaludon guide, so I won't go too much into it. But there's some examples of teammates that could work well with a Zapdos. Now, let's think about some counters here. That's a nasty counter. So I was just thinking Clodsire would be very, very bad for Zapdos. So Clodsire being... poison and ground, that's bad. Even if you had water absorb on there, couldn't even use any like Terra type water or anything. So I'd say Clodsire is an excellent counter for that, for sure. Any ground type moves are going to, or ground type Pokemon, sorry, are going to cause Zapdos a lot of pain. Qianpao's another good one as well. That can just tear through Zapdos. Unless Zapdos has like a Terra, Water, or a Fire, or Electric, or something like that, then then it might be able to survive those hits and hit back hard. But there are definitely some definitely good counters there for sure. Any like ice type Pokemon, like powerful ice types like this, or ground type Pokemon are going to be a good good counter. I'd say Groudon. Just while I'm thinking about ground type Pokemon, Groudon's a good counter as well to Zapdos. Definitely a good counter, and it also has Drought too. So if you've got like that rain, Hurricane is going to get destroyed in Drought. So that'd be very, very bad because it doesn't miss in rain, but obviously in sun, it's terrible accuracy. So that's a good counter as well. So there's some counters and stuff to think about. Let's have a look at some of the moves it gets. Just some last minute thoughts. I always like to do this. So if you are playing, it does have Baton Pass. If you're playing a rule set that allows that, you might be able to pass some speed on something like that. It does get Protect or Detect. You can use that on some of the sets if you feel like you don't want Tailwind or you want to slot Protect on there as well. A lot of the time, I'll say this, like, if you don't want to run Protect, just run Covert Cloak, because that does half the job, right? When you run Protect, a lot of the time, you're just worried about a flinch, right? The other part of the time, you're just blocking from a normal move. So sometimes Covert Cloak is like sort of a band-aid fix for not running Protect or Detect, right? It does get, what else we got? It does get Light Screen and like that. You might be on like a bulky set. Tailwind, we've gone over that. Thunder Wave, well, that's good, but it does have static as well. It gets Eerie Impulse, which is quite a niche move, which can drop the opponent's special attack by 2 stages. You might be able to run like a real bulky one, but it's hard to fit it on there. It really is. You can run maybe a real tanky helping hand set. But then again, Zapdos is quite a good special attacker itself, so I don't know. I feel that would be more supportive, like another supportive Pokemon would be better for that. It does get Metal Sound as well, so you might be able to go like a Metal Sound Throat Spray set as a bit more gimmicky. So you get that special defense drop on 2 Pokemon, on 1 Pokemon. And then you get Throat Spray as well. So essentially you've got like a +3 against them if they don't swap. Worst case scenario, they do swap and you get a free turn. So that could be another little strategy you could try and, implement there. That could be an interesting one. It does get Sand and Rain and Sun. So it gets all those, all the weather, which is pretty cool. Once again, a very shallow move pool, a lot of electric moves. So it does get Ancient Power if you want to try and make like a bulky boosting set. That could work maybe for a bit of fun. Discharge, we've gone over that. Heat Wave, we've gone over that. You could do Terra 5, Heat Wave, Hurricanes on virtually every set. Terra Blast, so Terra Blast Water, Terra Blast Grass, they're useful ones. Thunder, great in rain. Thunderbolt, great if you're not running rain. Volt Switch is on most Zapdos sets for momentum. Weather Ball, that is great. In any rain sets, that could work well. Air Cutter, I don't think so. It's not really going to be as good as Hurricane. It's not going to hit that hard. Electro Ball, you might be able to run some like Agility Electro Ball cheese set. It gets the Mighty Zap Cannon as well. Maybe you could like a funny Blunder Policy set or something like that. I'm not sure. Like, Max's Health and Blunder Policy to get your speed and things like that. Because some scummy set you could try. Let's have a look at his physical moves. Yeah, they are what you probably expect. It gets Acrobatics. You might be able to do something like, Normal Gem with a normal move. I don't know. It's pretty bad on the physical side. The most success I did have was with that Choice Band one. I did have some success there. You might be able to maybe do Terra Flying with Acrobatics or something like that if you get a consumable item, like Citrus Berry or something like that. But yeah, it's pretty limited on the physical side. No one's really going to use it there, except if you're just mucking around. But all in all, Zapdos is a pretty solid Pokemon. It does have a lot of competition from back in the day. It was very used a lot, but now it's not used quite as much. But it's still a very good Pokemon. You could slot it into your team. We either need a bulky Tailwind Pokemon that still hits hard, even with no investment. You can run it as a Choice Scarf, Choice Specs. But it's good for Tailwind for sure. That's one of its great things. And it can be very, very good in the rain too, in the right situation. It can cause disrupt a lot of battles there, doing tons of damage. It can be tanky and it can hit really hard, which is a good thing about it, for sure. But that's pretty much it for Zapdos. I think we might do like the Galar forms as well next time. We'll see what we're doing. That's about it. If you enjoyed it, drop a like. Leave me a comment if you want to see a Pokemon strategy or like a moveset guide. Leave it below. I've got the playlist there with them all. Check them out, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.